Hello, everyone. Welcome in. Thanks so much for being here. My name is Crystal Lee, if you haven't been here before, and this is Exist and Love Tarot. And if you have been here, thanks so much for tuning back in. I'm super excited to jump into the December astrology. I do want to give a little channel update. I'm still deciding what I want to post and how often I want to post. So just patience as I navigate and figure out what feels best. I'm really trying to follow the astrology that we're about to go over and really just surrender to the process and trust and really allow what spirit wants to bring through and listen to my intuition in regards to what wants to be on this channel. So it was I was trying to do the individual zodiac readings for each sign twice a month, and the messages were starting to feel like it just felt a little rigid, and like there was a lot of overlap in the readings from each sign, like because they're so close together. So it's feeling more authentic right now just to do the one for each sign a month. And then eventually, not eventually, I just want to kind of listen to my intuition each day and see what wants to come through, and maybe do some like weekly, daily collective check-ins, and yeah, just kind of let whatever wants to blossom without this kind of structure in my mind like I had it. So just sharing that with y'all because I wanted to, and also because those themes of everything I'm talking about is really reflective, like in the astrology that we have this month. So, yeah, let's jump into it. I feel like it's going to be a good month. I think it will be challenging. Even just like these next couple weeks, like really surrendering. And then I feel like this month is going to be supportive. There will be some boosts from spirit and from like the energy of creating structure and that foundation with Saturn and everything. But I think it's going to be challenging in the sense of even throughout having that support and a little bit more clarity, like there's still a lot of work to do. There's still a lot of surrender necessary to this process, and really seeing like what have you learned, how much have you integrated from this very potent 9 snake year. So yeah, that is a little summary for you. Now let's get into kind of each big transit that I have for you today. Okay. So we're starting with the full moon in Gemini on December 4th, 2025. So I do want to say that I have astrology cards, they're over yonder, and I pull cards from that deck for each transit that's happening to kind of get a deeper message here. So I'll share those and the other reflections that I have for this full moon. Now, I like to remind the viewers, and just this is where like I'm coming from with astrology, is like it's such a unique map in the sky every day. Like I kind of think of it as like a snowflake. Like I don't think it will ever look quite the same. And like history has happened, and now even if we have like the same transits, like they're different now. You know what I mean by that? Like no full moon in Scorpio is going to be the same as the one that we had last year, or etc. Like anything like that. So I like to look at each moment in life as its own unique moment that is being created, but also that we're co-creating with. So yeah, no two moments are ever the same. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Is it clicking? I think it's clicking in here at least. Anyways, so the full moon in Gemini. First of all, this full moon specifically, I feel there is going to be this feeling of like wrapping up and closure, and also like I feel like clarity and this kind of sense of movement forward. But what I'm seeing with this full moon specifically is just like this illumination to the things external to us that are going to give us more clarity, if that makes sense. And I feel like it's going to give us this perception shift as well. So the cards that I pulled was Think, which is related to the warrior of Athena and the number 30 or number 3. I also pulled the card associated with Juno, partnership, the number 3, 31 or 4. And then the card associated with the series, nurture, 29 or 11, or 2 or 9. So think, partnership, and nurture. Full moon in Gemini. Gemini is communication. It's an air sign. The moon is so powerful. Our moods, our emotions, the depths of the unconscious, this full moon, this illumination. And I feel like because it's in Gemini, it really has to do with like our thinking, how we're seeing certain situations, how have we integrated new mindsets, how have we kind of, can we put to rest any mindsets that are no longer working for us? Maybe specifically when it comes to relationships, when it comes to how we're thinking about partnership, and how can we nurture the seeds of new mindsets when it comes to our partnerships or even our relationship to ourselves, which then extends to our external partnerships. Is that making sense? But yeah, I kept hearing just like this illumination to the external. So we'll kind of have to see how that really unfolds and what that truly means. Sorry, didn't mean to make that noise. Habit. But yeah, so that's all I have in terms of the cards. And then I have a little bit more for you here, but I kind of already said it. But like healing and thinking about partnership from a new lens. This could be breakthroughs about our relational patterns. We also, at this point, will have Saturn direct in Pisces. So it's still in Pisces, not quite yet into Aries, which we should talk about a little bit later. But it's starting to move forward, even though it's still in the sign of Pisces. And we also have Mercury direct, which this stuff happened in the end of November. So it's happening like right now as we're speaking. And then we also will have eventually Neptune to be direct as well in the month of December. So there is this like starting to move forward with this final full moon in Gemini at 13 degrees at the beginning of the month. So I feel like it does have this energy of like breakthrough and this beginning phases of starting to accept this new timeline that we're stepping into, which I haven't even really talked about in this video yet, but this whole year has been a collapse of old timelines that are not in alignment with who we truly authentically are. And it has been like just this unveiling of our truth and our authenticity to the point where we can't really wear masks anymore. Like we have to start facing our truths, because if we don't, then we're just going to continue the same old patterns. And it's almost like the universe isn't really letting us do that. It's really trying to push us forward and to face the shadows that have been really keeping us stuck in these old cycles. So we have a lot of planets this year specifically that have been in long-term cycles. For example, Neptune has been in a long-term cycle for about 13 years. And that's going to be the next thing we talk about. But Neptune goes direct on December 10th. And we're pretty much there, like ready to talk about this. So let me wrap up with the full moon in Gemini. Is I feel as though this being like the last full moon of the year in an air sign, it's like this kind of release, this breakthrough of energy that kind of begins this like starting to get to the other side feeling, starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel, where like things are, I feel, are going to start to flow. And a card that specifically continued to come out while I was doing the research for December was clarity, clarify, solar calm. And that kept giving me this energy of like, right now, like in this past, since October 22nd to December 10th, Neptune has been retrograde at the 29th degree in Pisces, which is the last sign of the zodiac, and that is the last degree. So that combination, and it's ending a cycle of 13 years in its home sign. So ending such a grand cycle like that is really potent, and we're seeing some major accumulations of energy and endings and closings of old patterns and cycles. And we're already in the death of that. We've been in the death of that, especially throughout death season with Scorpio energy. We've been really forced to face what no longer is serving us or working for us, and really sit with kind of like the aftermath of all of that and the shadow aspects of what kept us in those cycles of accepting less than we deserve or giving away our power in some way. Because we also have that Chiron retrograde in Aries still, which is kind of, to me, when Chiron's in retrograde like that, in Aries of all places, is like, to me, that's like referring to our internal sense of power and our internal wounds that need to be healed to then reclaim our internal power. So that's just being ignited over here, right? In Aries. And it stays in Aries, which is probably a blessing, because going back into Pisces is like a whole thing, which we've seen with Saturn and Neptune, if you've kept up with the astrology that's been going on. So we got Chiron over here, like illuminating all of our wounds, forcing us to look at them, lit up, right? And then we have Saturn and Neptune swimming through Pisces, forcing us to create structure through surrender. And forcing us, that's like Saturn in Pisces, right? And then the Neptune retrograde in Pisces is forcing us to kind of face all of these illusions that we've been stuck in, giving our power away to either relationships, jobs, seeing themes about unworthiness underneath the surface. All of these things, like, in combination, it's like, what illusions, what do you need to really look in the face and unveil and surrender to the ending of, and let go of, and allow to dissolve, so that these wounds that are being illuminated to you can really heal and move you forward into a life that is in alignment with you through a deep surrender to the unknown, through the release of what is not serving us, and through true, like, deep internal healing that can allow us to actually align to the frequency that's going to connect us with the right people, places, and things. And right now, okay, we're talking about Neptune now. I know I didn't really do a great transition of that, or maybe I did, I don't know. Spirit is just moving through, so I'm letting it happen. But October 22nd to December 10th is when Neptune, like I said, has been retrograde at the 29th degree in the last zodiac sign, Pisces. That is going direct on December 10th. Neptune is going direct on December 10th in Pisces. So, sorry, I'm just trying to like make sure I'm being clear. Lemon water really does it for me. I feel like it just like I can't just like drink normal water. I mean, I could, but it gets a little boring. Anywho, so Neptune going direct on December 10th, December 10th is like, okay, we surrendered. Good job. And now I feel like with that movement of that full moon in Gemini, that like kind of breaking through those mental patterns, starting to see the light, and then we have that Neptune direct, and it's just kind of like, whoosh, okay, like another sense of like we're releasing this, but we're still in it because Neptune's going direct, but it's still at that 29th degree. So it's going to be some time, specifically not until January 26th when Neptune goes direct in Aries. And then I think it's February 20th when Saturn joins Neptune direct in Aries. So they're both about to be direct. And then eventually they'll move into Aries and we'll have that real full movement forward out of this surrender and more of this into the new timeline. But it's so interesting because if you think about it, it's like this whole, in 2025, this whole old timeline just collapsed, okay? And we were forced to surrender to like this void where there's a lot of pain and a lot of integration necessary. And then it's like you continue to surrender and like allow things to dissolve. And then it's like slowly Saturn and Neptune and all these planets are like bringing us into the new timeline kind of in a gentle way because we're letting it happen slowly. And just like that receptive feminine energy of like allowing it to play out. It's quite beautiful actually if we truly let it happen. Yeah. Okay. So then on December 11th, we have Mercury entering Sagittarius. I like this energy. I think it'll be quite nice. Is there anything else? Let me go back to Neptune going direct one more time because I did want to read you the cards that I pulled. And what I pulled was Chiron, which I thought was interesting. 28, associated with the number 28 and the word heal. And in the photo for Chiron, it's a snake and a sword. So 2025 was the year of the snake. It's just all very like in Chiron, heal, sword energy, clarity. Just a lot of, I think, confirmation coming through there. And then the card opposition, confrontation associated with the number 53. So, and then descendant, invitation, and relationship. So what came through fully was healing, confrontation, and inviting relationship in. That's what I got intuitively for Neptune going direct. So there could be some confrontations within relationships that have caused things to be on pause for this necessary internal review to get clarity within yourself, right? To clear up the old karmic past. But yeah, this is inviting relationship into your life and this ability to heal confrontation. So whether this is healing confrontation with an actual other person, which is very likely, but it's going to happen slowly and it needs to happen slowly because it needs to be approached from a very grounded place, if that is the case. Or it could be healing inner confrontation that is stopping you from maybe opening up to new partnerships. Or it could be a combination of both, of like healing confrontation internally, allowing me to then connect with other people outside of me. So it'll be interesting to see how that shows up for everyone. But yeah, we are culminating a 13-year cycle here. And this is illusions breaking, stepping out of repetitive patterns, clarity, healing, allowing what has completed its purpose to dissolve without holding on to it. This could be especially potent too for Virgo, Pisces, Sagittarius, and Geminis, all the mutable signs. because Neptune is in Pisces, which is a mutable sign. So that affects the mutable signs more. But we all have these signs within us, so it's important to like look at your chart and stuff like that too. But yeah, we are really like in this in-between realm. And it's really all about perception too, because we can sit here and freak out and be like, oh, I don't know what's going to happen. Like, is this person going to come back, or is this friendship over, or what job am I going to have, or how is all this going to work out, or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, whatever is going on in your life, right? It's all different for all of us, but it's like, how much can you truly surrender and just like trust the process and like kind of lean into that? How often do we really let ourselves lean into that and like have that perception change where it's less of like scary and more of like, I'm open, I'm receptive, and I'm aligning with what is flowing? Kind of releasing what has been resisting me at this time and connecting to what is flowing and aligning rather than forcing things. So it's a really beautiful energy for the collective. And I think it being in Pisces too affects all of us, because Pisces is like this sign that contains all of the zodiac signs. So I feel like it's really kind of forcing the collective to, yeah, just face a lot of what's not working so that we can all come into deeper alignment, which is very beautiful. Sorry, I'm gonna drink this water again. I feel like I'm talking a lot and I need it. Okay. 12/11, December 11th, we have Mercury going direct in Sagittarius, which we began to talk about. Yeah, what kept coming out specifically for this, with anything that was going on in Sagittarius specifically, the Solar Calm and Clarity card kept coming out. And I think with Mercury and Sagittarius, it's like this very blunt, outspoken, excitable, like expansive energy. And I think with everything that's happened this year too, it will be this opportunity for us to speak from a place of optimism, and also like for the future, but also like from a place of authenticity and not like from a place of people pleasing, like being really upfront about how we feel, being very clear in that. But from like a place of optimism and a place of like, that's on the positive side, right? So it could be kind of blunt and opinionated as well, but if we can move in that Sagittarian energy from a place of not even necessarily optimism, but at least authenticity, where we can really just communicate from our truths, I think that is a great opportunity for us, like to use this energy like that, if that makes sense. And as I continue here, I think will be very supportive to us in making the reality that we want, that we truly desire, to be a real reality. Does that make sense? I feel like as we get deeper into the month, like right now with where I'm at on December 11th, that's when things are going to start. It's like this opening of energy, kind of this like clarity coming through, this sense of peace, more peace coming through. And then I think it shifts into this energy of kind of giving us a boost of motivation and a sense of responsibility to really continue to surrender and create that foundation that we so badly need, which I think I mentioned in the beginning of the video. But yeah, so we have that Mercury in Sagittarius. I'm trying not to say Sag for some reason. I don't know. I think both are fine. And on December 15th, we have Mars entering Capricorn. So Mars is exalted in Capricorn, and I feel this is going to be a very potent energy for us. And I hope that we all use this energy wisely. it's a great opportunity for us to, again, like, start to get like this sense of responsibility, connect to the logic of what we're trying to create, and connect to like the reality of the situation too, of whatever you're experiencing, and taking those baby steps every day to create that reality and to like really solidify like a foundation that's going to support us in this year of the horse, this new year that we're stepping into. Um but yeah, the cards I pulled were Uranus, change associated with 25, and activation, solar flares associated with 17. Um, so what I was picking up from that coming out was more this energy of like Uranus is kind of this like unexpected breakthroughs, unexpected innovation, and solar flares. Like just even think about that word. It's like this activation, and it says activate as well. And I feel that that's what I mean with like the Sagittarian energy and the Capricorn energy. It's like, yes, a sense of responsibility, but also expansion. And we also have Jupiter in retrograde still in Cancer, I believe. I think it's still in Cancer. And that is this energy of kind of this internal abundance being created, which makes sense too if we think about everything I talked about with Chiron and Neptune and Saturn. It's like having that Jupiter in retrograde is also creating this like internal empowerment and abundance from within. So having that Mars exalted in Capricorn, I think has this very powerful energy for us to really be able to take our power seriously and to exert that power into the right people, places, things, projects. And it allows us to really develop those things in a way that is from like a responsible place within us, from a place that we take like seriously and like from a place of care through like hard work. Does that make sense? But yeah, Mars and Capricorn can be very exacting, very like refined, gives us this ability to really tap into that Saturnian energy through our exertion of power. So think about that. Utilizing Mars energy through a Saturnian lens, allowing us to then take those necessary steps to create a long-term foundation that's going to last. And like that could in the external or from your person, right? Like from yourself, how could that show up in the world? Does that make sense? How can that show up in the world? Through our own expression is like, okay, for instance, we're in all these retrogrades, right? Let's say you have a friendship you took a pause from, or a relationship you took a pause from, and it circles back around. Okay, now you're in a different place. You're a different person now. How are you going to handle this differently? You're not going to repeat the same patterns from the past. You're going to take it step by step and do it responsibly so that it can bloom into what you are intending it to bloom into. Does that make sense? It's like Mars and Capricorn gives us this opportunity to kind of align our intention and our power with our actions in a way that comes from a place of like integrity. And I find it to be very powerful and useful in the 3D world when it comes to creating something, whether that's a foundation for projects, relationships, collaborations, taking those steps. Okay. On 12/19, we have the new moon in Sagittarius. So I really like that we have that after this Mars, like with this Mars and Capricorn energy, because again, it's on the other side of like Jupiter energy, this optimism, this expansion, and having a new moon, like our kind of last new moon of the year, really, I find to be really beautiful, of like setting this intention of, I think it's a beautiful opportunity to kind of have a ton of gratitude for everything that we learned for the year, and really just take a pause to reflect on how much you have integrated from the year and how much happened this year and how much you have grown this year. And then, like, how do you want to really embody that wisdom that you're taking from this year? And how do you want it to infuse into your following year, into 2026, into the year of the horse? What lessons from the year of the snake do you want to take with you as we enter this fresh start, a 9 to a 10, a 9 to a 1 year with that horse energy, this big movement forward. Yeah, and so the Clarify Solar Calm came out again with the card, the referring to the 12th house, introspection, Mars and related to motion came out, and 4th house home when it came to the new moon in Sagittarius. So what I got from that was exactly kind of what I just said now that I'm looking at this. We're starting to move forward, right? With this Mars energy coming out. With the 12th house and that introspection, everything I just said, what did we learn from this year? What are we taking away from this year? How have we internally changed on the inside? How has our internal home shifted because of the lessons of this year? And is there anything that we could reflect on more to take into this next year, into our lives? And Clarify Solar Calm, I feel like it is this beautiful kind of accumulation of energy of like, wow, like taking that moment to reflect and have that gratitude, so we can move forward in a very powerful way and like set a clear intention as we move forward. And that Mars in Capricorn energy, I think, is very supportive to the themes that I'm talking about and how to approach this new moon, if of course it feels in alignment for you to do something along those lines. But yeah, new timeline energy starting to pour in, internal expansion because we have that Jupiter retrograde, internal clarity, movement forward, optimism, supportive energy to give us a boost to keep going and be hopeful for the following year. But do you see how the energy too is like, yes, it's exciting. Yes, it feels supportive, but it also feels like we need to stay focused and continue to surrender while creating those structures, while we're gaining more clarity. So it's still going to take effort on our part. But I think overall, if you're listening to Saturn and you're leaning in, the less you resist, the better. And the more you allow what's resisting you right now to resist you, the better. Surrender. Okay, on December 21st, we have two things happening. We're almost done here. We have Jupiter squaring Chiron. So again, Jupiter is retrograde in Cancer, I believe. And then we have it squaring Chiron, which is retrograde in Aries. So I find that to be really interesting because think about it. Everything we already talked about, Chiron being retrograde in Aries, illuminating where we're still wounded and giving our power away. And then that's squaring Jupiter, which is retrograde and is in Cancer, which is our, well, our home life, our internal home, our emotions, the moon, right? What is subconsciously blocking us internally? What wounds are blocking us internally and causing us to give our power away? Therefore, blocking us from bringing in more internal abundance and therefore external abundance. Do you see what I'm saying? So yeah, showing us aspects where there is healing needed. This could show up as like a lot of emotions pouring through unexpectedly, or just some like big feelings that are giving us some big revelations of things that are still blocked within us. But yeah, showing us aspects where there's healing or a new perspective needed to feel more abundant internally and vibrationally. Removing blocks to our internal abundance to create more stability and sustainability. December, yeah. I'm going to save that. That's about like the whole, I wrote a little summary about the year, so I'll definitely redo that. And then we also have the sun entering Capricorn on the 21st, which I really like. Again, I think it's supportive to kind of the energies that we're experiencing right now. I feel like it's an opportunity to really ground all of the lessons that we have learned this year. And what came through this with the cards was sun, literally the sun, as I'm talking about sun entering Capricorn, Saturn, which is Capricorn's ruler, right? I always get those mixed up. Not the rulership, but like Saturn rules Capricorn or Capricorn rules Saturn. I don't know why. It's like dyslexia of astrology. Anywho, yeah, I think it's Saturn rules Capricorn. Yeah. So Saturn coming out and Mercury, which I thought was interesting. So maybe the sun in Capricorn could bring some structure in our communication somehow. I don't know, maybe there's some aspects happening with the sun there, but that's just what came out intuitively. And symbiosis trine sextile came through. So there could be literally maybe some trines or sextiles when it comes to the Mercury and Sagittarius. I'm really not sure what's going on with that, but intuitively at least, it sounds like there will be some grounded energy to our communication. And maybe that's just the influence of having the sun in Capricorn. But I thought it was really interesting that the sun and Saturn both came out when talking about the sun entering Capricorn. So I feel like this will, again, like I said earlier, bringing structure and reality to the forefront, grounding us to keep moving forward into the new timeline slowly as we close out these major cycles that are happening in Pisces. So yeah, I think it's a really beautiful, grounded way to enter the beginning of the year and really ground us as we continue to close out these big cycles that are happening in those first couple months of the new year. The last thing I want to talk about is on December 24th, we have Venus entering Capricorn as well. So I do like this, even though Venus, I wouldn't say particularly loves Capricorn, Saturn energy, you know? But what cards came out for this combination, Venus enters Capricorn, was retrograde review. Capricorn literally came out, achieve, and 8th house mystery, which I thought was interesting. But Capricorn and technically Scorpio are both ruled, or at least were both ruled by Saturn. So it's interesting that Capricorn and Scorpio energy came out for this as well. But I do think having Venus in Capricorn will give us this opportunity to, when it comes to our relationships or even the way we're acting with our finances, our worthiness, is like we're kind of stepping out of we're stepping more into maturity when it comes to this. Kind of what I was saying with Mars in Capricorn. It's like stepping out of like a lot of big emotions or, yeah, like a lot of feelings to really create stability and long-term security through a more emotionally restrained energy, but like ultimately from a place of sincerity and like aligning again the actions with the words. And it's like if your words are more Venus like, more lovey-dovey, romantic, but you don't have the action to support that, what do those words really mean? So I feel like Venus being in Capricorn kind of gives us this opportunity to be grounded in the way that we're communicating in our relationships and being realistic and logical in how we're creating the structure for that, to ultimately create a deeper sense of safety and a deeper sense of regulation within our own nervous systems personally, but then in connection with others. How can we approach things more slowly with more Saturnian structure and discipline, so that we can be more authentic and be more in alignment with true integrity when it comes to how we're relating with other people. From a place of my feelings and needs are being heard and met, your feelings and needs are being heard and met, and we are collaborating, meeting in the middle. Does that make sense? So I think it's a very nice energy to lead us into the new year. It all feels very mature. It's like after this whole year, after all the chaos, I feel like December feels like a beginning of a glimmer of hope, while also being in reality and being mature and creating, again, the structures that we need to move forward. What did I write here about December? I wrote, December feels like a soft landing pad to a difficult year that will help us to align more deeply, surrender more deeply, with a boost of support to keep going, to keep refining ourselves. I like that. Yeah, that's exactly how it feels. So really beautiful energy. Let's see. Let's connect to the tarot and see what wants to come through as a collective message for everyone watching to close out the reading. Let's see what the angels want to say, the archangels here, about December. Wow, yeah, totally in alignment. Clear cognizance on the bottom. Pay attention to thoughts and ideas that come to you. They are answered prayers. So really listening to your intuition. Really continuing to surrender. Clear your space. I've been feeling this a lot. Energetically, internally, but also externally. Clear space. Get rid of clutter. Clear the energy around you and use feng shui. I definitely think that this is a perfect time to do so. The more that we can kind of clear out the old energies of anything that's not serving us, the better. So if there's things physically in your space that could be cleared out, this is an amazing time to do that. I feel that just very heavily for myself and my own experience, but also just with everything going on in the astrology. We have teaching and learning. Keep an open mind and learn new ideas, then teach these ideas to others. So yeah, I feel like, excuse me, sorry. I feel like this is very reminds me of Capricorn energy of being a leader and taking the lead and knowing with the teacher of Saturn that you have behind you, like you can set this example and lead the way. You don't need someone else to initiate boundaries before you do. Things like that. Like you take what you've learned this year and really apply it to your relationships, to your friendships, to your own relationship with yourself. We have prioritize, focus on your highest priorities. And Archangel Metatron here, I will help you get organized and motivated. So really beautiful energy here. Archangel Metatron's been coming through a lot for me. But yeah, this is exactly the vibe of this month. Clearing your space, being a leader, and really taking in the lessons of the year. Getting motivated and really prioritizing what you need to work on, what is lighting up your soul, and what is like calling you in this new direction. Whether that's a new job, a new hobby, people, new environments, places. And then we have Archangel Michael here. Remember who you are. You are a powerful, loving, and creative child of God. You are very loved. So yeah, that's exactly this energy. We're aligning with our true authenticity. We are clearing our space and coming into alignment with the correct frequencies. We are sharing what we have learned, and we are aligning our actions and our words. And we're prioritizing our goals. So let's do just a 3-card reading, past, present, future. Present being like, no, let's do beginning of the month, middle of the month, end of the month. 6 of Cups. 3 of Wands in reverse. That was too many cards. One less card, please. Devil in reverse. Okay, one more there. Too many. One more card, please, for the Devil in reverse. Medicine Wheel. And we have the Ace of Swords on the bottom. Okay. So 6 of Cups. I feel like things from the past coming back around. 3 of Wands in reverse. I feel like, let's pull one card on this, but I get the sense that it's like, let's see. Yeah, exactly. Needing to stay in alignment with our internal power. And again, our own boundaries, our own needs, feelings, wants, and needs, and collaborating, meeting people where they're at so we don't get drained or give our energy away too easily here. 2 of Pentacles with the 3 of Wands. I get the sense that it's like, yes, things are coming back around, but we're not doing them the same way that we did them before. So there's, again, this pause, even though, okay, we have some more clarity, things are coming back around, but we're doing it differently now. So there's this pause and this almost like awkwardness of like, like we have to go slowly about this. We can't just like rush into this situation. So there's this 2 of Pentacles, this going back and forth. How are we going to handle this from like a grounded perspective? And the Devil card in reverse, to me, Saturn energy, Capricorn energy here, I don't hate that. I feel like it's kind of this release of these old patterns that have kept us stuck. And it's like we're slowing down because we've learned, because we've been touched by this medicine wheel, which is, this is associated with the Wheel of Fortune. But the medicine wheel is so powerful. It's like, I feel like this year has really, like, I'm just getting this image of like the venom being ultimately a great teacher, and the shadows that we were faced with this year, it's like those shadows ultimately are the medicine that allow us to release these old ways of doing things. And the Ace of Swords on the bottom is always a yes card, this clarity bursting through, this truth coming through here. So that just very much confirmed this message for me. So really beautiful energy here. I'm super excited to see how December unfolds for all of us. Please feel free to leave comments down below. I would love to hear about your guys' experiences or how this resonates for you. And yeah, looking forward to doing your readings and connecting with y'all soon. Okay, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.